Let's talk about Preloved Louis Vuitton. Hi, it's Jen. Recently, I have become obsessed with scoping out the pre-loved market for designer goods such as vintage Louis Vuitton. This is a bag I picked up from a Facebook group. Yes, a Facebook group for a little over $400. Now you're like, that's crazy. How do you authenticate this? How do you vet these sellers? So I want to talk a little bit about my experience with shopping the pre-loved market, whether it's worth it, and what kind of deals you can get, because I do feel like with all of these Louis Vuitton price increases and with the economy and everything else that's going on, I feel like for buyers right now is actually a pretty good time if you're looking to pick up a few secondhand items. Okay, so you're probably like, okay, well, where do you shop for these items? So there are a few different places. I have personally found a really good, reputable reseller. I'm gonna link some resources down below in the description box. So the three main places I've been shopping for pre-loved goods are in the Louis Vuitton Gold Mine Facebook group. This is a Facebook group that's run by like a guy in his 20s from Montana, which is kind of insane, but he seems super cool. And in this group, there's a lot of people who just really like Louis Vuitton stuff. And there are a lot of legitimate resellers who do this as a business. So I purchased this Cabas Piano bag, which is a really cute tote bag. I think it's a great alternative to the Neverfull. I got this from a reseller that's there all the time. What I do like about this particular Facebook group, there's quite a few of them by the way, is that they have a thing where you can become like a premium member, and that's for the resellers. And these are kind of vetted resellers that everybody knows, and they do this as a business. So the person I purchased this from is a premium member of the Louis Vuitton Goldmine Facebook group. You can also ask for seller and buyer references, so you don't have to be a professional reseller to buy and sell in the group. If I wanted to sell stuff I owned, I could also sell in that group as well. But there's a lot of deals there. You can also do an in search of post. So if you're looking for a specific item, you could make a post and say, hey, I'm looking for a pochette accessoire. My budget is $9.50, and then people in the group can respond and let you know if they have any of those items. I think with all of the crazy price increases from these designer brands, I think this is a great way for like the average person like me to be able to get some pretty approachable deals on really cool stuff. So that is one source that I've been kind of hitting up and seeing what's out there. There's stuff posted there all the time. And from what I can tell, you can sort of negotiate a little bit with the sellers and just, say, hey, would you take, if there's an item they list for $1,000, you could say, hey, would you take $9.50? Another source I have been going to for a few different items, I'm going to do more videos about this in the future, is a woman named Gwen's Luxe Shop. She is a professional reseller. She does mostly Louis Vuitton, but she does do some other brands, like she's done some Gucci items and whatnot. She also does gold jewelry. She has a Facebook page, she's got an Instagram, and she is working on her own standalone website. Another thing that I've noticed with the resellers is that I think with everything going on, I think sales have been a little bit slow. They're starting to offer payment plans. Now, it's up to you if you're into this whole thing or not, but they'll offer payment plans. I've seen up to like 40 weeks or something. So you pay for the bag over time, and then I believe they ship it out to you when you're done making your payments. I think it can be a good sales tactic for them if they're trying to sell very expensive bags. Like if they have a $4,000 on the go bag, a payment plan is going to be a lot more appealing to many buyers than paying all the $4,000 up front. So I've noticed a lot of sellers are doing that. Another source for pre-loved items are reseller sites like Poshmark and Mercari. I've had success with both sites. I've ordered things from each of them. Mercari has lower fees for sellers, so I have found that I've gotten slightly better price deals on Mercari just because they don't charge sellers as much for selling their items. Poshmark, one of the benefits is any item over $500 has free authentication. So the seller ships their item to the authentication center, Poshmark authenticates it, and then sends it on to the buyer. I have used that service as well. For both sites, you do get a window of time, like around 2 to 3 days, to inspect the item and to reject it if you feel that the seller misrepresented the condition of the item or the item itself. So here's what I do. So to vet the sellers on Poshmark and Mercari, the first thing I do is I look to see if they have ratings. If a seller is very new to the platform and has 0 buyer ratings, I just don't buy from them. That's one thing I'm just not comfortable with. The other thing you can do is check out their closet or their other listings. Does this seem like a normal person that's selling their items? Or does this seem like a sketchy scammer type person. So if I see a seller and they've sold a few other Louis Vuitton items, but they have also sold clothes and shoes and accessories, and it looks like what would be in a normal person's closet, to me that makes me feel a little bit better about the situation. The other thing I will look for is, does this item come with verification? So the vast majority of items I purchased from Poshmark and Mercari had all of the original packaging, and the two most expensive items I've purchased did come with the original receipt, and the name on the receipt matched the name of the seller. So everything checked out there, and that made me feel a lot more comfortable about the purchase. So like the name of the seller, I looked at the actual receipt and it matched up perfectly. The other thing I did once I received those items, I taped the unboxing. So get out your camera phone or get out your video camera and make sure to record you unboxing the item. I feel just for your own protection, that can help you if you do get an item and it is damaged. That has actually happened to me on Poshmark. I ordered a Coach bag and it was a lot different than what the seller had made it out to be. The seller also misrepresented the item because they made sure that the photos in their listing did not actually show the damage that the item actually had. But by filming the unboxing myself, at least then I could prove to Poshmark, if need be, that I did not cause the damage. So once I took it out of the box, you could really see the damage. So that can protect you in case there's any type of a dispute. So make sure to film the unboxing. And then if it's a designer item, get it authenticated. So the items I purchased off of those sites, once I received them, I took close-up photos and got them authenticated by master authentication. I've had pretty good luck with this service so far. I know there are other services as well, but that's the one I've been using. They've been very quick to respond, and I feel like they're pretty competent. Obviously, I'm not a Louis Vuitton expert. They seem to have a pretty good reputation in this business. In fact, a professional Louis Vuitton reseller I talked to, she uses master authentication for verifying her items. They're very fast, and it costs $10 for a verbal yes or no. You can also upgrade your authentication to a certificate, so you can get like a little e-certificate saying that your item is verified authentic. They have a lot of different methods they use. Obviously, they can't share all their trade secrets, but they have a lot of different metrics they use to verify whether an item is a counterfeit or whether it's authentic. So I did that, and then once you feel comfortable with the item, you can then accept your purchase, and then the funds are released to the seller. But this is a good buyer protection, because then you can, if you get the item and it turns out to be fake, then you can at least let Poshmark or Mercari know, and then you don't have to accept the item. So I feel like that those reseller sites do have some adequate buyer protect. In fact, I would say it's even more in the buyer's favor, because when I disputed that Coach bag I got, there was zero pushback. I submitted some photos of the item when I got it, but that was all they needed, and they refunded my money. They sent me a shipping label, so then I just shipped the item back to the seller. Oh, another thing that I have found is helpful is message the seller about an item you're interested in and just sort of get a feel for what kind of person they are. If you message them about the item and they don't respond at all, I would say that's a red flag. Or if they say anything that seems a little fishy, or like they're defensive, or they seem reluctant to provide information about the item, or more proof of them purchasing the item, or more photos, I would say walk away from that potential transaction. Also, if the item is priced unbelievably low, that's probably not a real item. So if you see an item that should be going for $1,000 and somebody's selling it for $200 and it's in great condition, that's probably a fake, and I personally would not feel comfortable trying to buy that item. So look, those are the metrics I look. Obviously, buying on the pre-loved market in general, there's always some risk to it. But I feel like as a consumer, there are things you can do to try to prevent yourself from being scammed. I have not had a bad experience. Besides the Coach bag, most of my transactions have been positive in my experience, and getting that authentication, I think, just made me feel better about the whole situation. So those are just some of my tips for shopping the pre-loved market, particularly those reseller sites like Mercari or Poshmark. I have not done eBay, but I've heard good and bad about eBay. But again, obviously there's risk in anything you're doing other than shopping at the boutique directly. But let's talk a little bit about this bag, because I think it is super cute. Now, there are 3 different tote bags in this series. There is the Cabas Piano, the smallest size. There's also the Cabas Mezzo and the Cabas Alto, I forgot. So this is a small, there's also like a medium and a large. I think this was made in like 2001, something like that. I'll have to check the date code. It's between like 11 and 12 inches wide. This bag is a little bit tapered towards the bottom because it has boxed out corners. And it is about, let's see, it's about 9.5 inches tall. And it is about 4.5 inches deep. So it's a pretty good size. The handle drop, let's see what that is. I'm trying to get some info for any of you who might be looking at this particular bag. Let's see, the handle drop is about 8.5 inches. So from the top of the bag to the top of the handle is about 8.5 inches. I'm a fairly small person. I'm only about 5'4". I weigh about 130 pounds. My scale, it doesn't have batteries anymore, so I literally have no idea. But I think this bag is great if you have a smaller frame and you don't need to carry like a ton of stuff. I don't carry my whole life around with me in a purse, so I typically don't have a need for something that's like large and in charge. This has vachetta handles and it's got a vachetta bottom. This one it's in pretty good shape. This is kind of a project bag. Now I did clean and condition this bag already. I'll show you some before and after and like in progress video here, but it was kind of dirty when I got it. This is a fairly old bag. The handles do have some cracking on it. This is over 20 years old. So I used Lexol leather cleaner and then I used the Cadillac boot and shoe leather lotion. And I used those two products. They did work pretty well in my opinion. I might go over it. Because the leather was kind of old, I did it in this order. I first conditioned it just so the leather wasn't super dry. So I did the Cadillac boot and shoe leather lotion first, let it sit for at least like a day or so. I used the Lexol leather cleaner, which did actually do a pretty good job, I think, of cleaning the leather. And then I did another layer of the Cadillac leather lotion. And so far, it did a great job on the bottom. The handles are in kind of rough shape. And also, like, the cleaner removed some of the stains. The hardware is in decent condition. I did also use Flitz metal cleaner. I'll link everything below in the description box. Some are affiliate links. Thank you very much. But the zipper was in pretty good shape. It zips very nicely. I've been keeping it stuffed so the bag doesn't lose its shape. Let me take this out real quick. I was also pretty impressed that the inside was very clean. I did use my little shop vac and I vacuumed out certain bits, but for being such an older bag, I was kind of impressed with how clean it was. I'm also keeping this little silica packet inside just so it kind of keeps the moisture away and everything like that. It's got a zipper interior. It's got a little cell phone pocket since this was from like the early 2000s. I don't know what I will keep that. I might get like a bag organizer for it or something. It can fit a good amount of stuff. It's fairly deep. There's also a little hook that you can hang your keys from, so I like that. Okay, the date code is 2001. So this was made I believe early on in 2001. So this is a vintage item. The canvas is in really good condition overall. There is a little bit of corner wear here, but overall, like, it's really not bad, especially for the age. I thought the bottom, I've seen quite a few of these on reseller sites and online, and I thought this one was one of the vachetta on the bottom is in pretty good condition compared to what else I've seen on the pre-loved market. The only flaw in the canvas, there's like a tiny spot, like it's super tiny where the canvas chipped away, but it's really not noticeable. So it's about right here. I don't even know if you can like really see this, but let me kind of try to put it up to the camera here. That's the only flaw in the canvas. The canvas up at the top near where the zipper is, there's no cracking at all. So that was actually pretty impressive. There's really no cracking or wear. So I was actually really surprised, but really the only flaw is the handles because they're so cracked and dry. Now, if the handles were not cracked, I would kind of keep it as is. Honestly, the patina on the bottom, I think it looks kind of cool. It's a very dark honey patina. But overall, the bag on the bottom is in pretty decent shape for being so old. And accounting for the fact that the vachetta is on the bottom, I can see how it can easily get trashed. So I did reach out to Louis Vuitton's repairs and I got a quote for replacing the outside vachetta. The inside vachetta, I wouldn't replace. It's got a pretty dark honey patina, but the leather itself is in really great condition, so I really don't feel the need to replace that at all. This is a made in France bag. for paying about 425 bucks, I feel like this was a pretty good value, especially for the condition of the bag, you know, and the age of it. It's a very usable bag. There's a little bit of silvering on the zipper, but it's really not bad at all. The zipper on the inside is in like pretty perfect condition, not a lot of wear and tear on the interior zipper. All right, so you're probably wondering like how much does a Louis Vuitton repair cost for this bag? All right, so I did a video chat with someone with the Louis Vuitton repair center. Now, there's a lot of questions about that. I did it for a pochette accessoire. I got Preloved as well, and I did it for this bag. And for the outside vachetta replacement, as of April 2023, I was quoted $1,070 to replace the outside strap, the shape, and the hardware, and the bottom vachetta. So $1,000 plus 70, so 1070. Now, obviously they just had a price increase on the repairs. It does seem like Louis Vuitton is trying to dissuade people from buying vintage bags and just getting the vachetta replaced. I'm not sure if I want to do that. So what do you guys think? After looking at this bag and seeing like the condition of the handles and everything, what would you do? Would you keep it as is, or would you try to get the vachetta replaced? I do actually like the patina on it. I think it's cute. The only thing that kind of bothers me is that the leather on the handles has some pretty severe cracking and it's dry. I might try to put some more leather lotion on it and see if that improves the situation. I don't feel like the handles are going to break off or anything, but they are very, very well worn. $1,070 seems like kind of out there. That would put my total cost into the bag at about $1,500. Now, would I pay $1,500 for this bag with new vachetta? I don't know. The other aspect is that I could probably sell this bag if I wanted to and get a Cabas Piano in better condition for less than $1,500. So something to think about. The other thing I discovered, I found on Reddit, somebody had used the company Purse Rehab to replace vachetta and it looked really good. So I'm thinking about reaching out to Purse Rehab and getting a quote on the vachetta to see what they would charge. If they charge significantly less, I feel like I would probably go for it. I do think I would like this bag a little bit more if it had new vachetta. If their price is a lot less than $1,000, I might go ahead and do it. The other thing about that is I know after I get a bag altered by a non-Louis Vuitton service, they won't touch the bag after that. But I don't really plan to have this bag repaired at Louis Vuitton other than that. Again, it's over 20 years old. The other thing that makes the third-party repair service appealing is that the vachetta replacement that I would be looking at does not require any Louis Vuitton branded elements. So like if you're getting a vachetta tab replaced on like a pochette accessoire or a mini pochette, if you went to a third-party service, you wouldn't get the little tab that says Louis Vuitton made in France. But because none of the vachetta that I would be getting replaced has any Louis Vuitton branding on it, I feel like that wouldn't compromise the integrity of the bag, in my opinion. The other thing that I would think I would do is before I would send it out for a repair, if I was using a third-party service, I think I would get the bag authenticated. I usually use master authentication. They've been pretty good. I would get the bag authenticated and get a certificate before I sent it out to Purse Rehab if I decided to use them for the vachetta replacement, just so that I would have some type of documentation and certification that this bag is real. So that's if I decide to use Purse Rehab. I'm thinking right now, if Purse Rehab ends up being too expensive for my taste, I think I'm just gonna leave the bag as is and carry it around. I think for 400 bucks, this is a pretty good deal. And the handles don't bother me a ton, but if I can get the vachetta replaced and it's somewhat affordable, I think I would probably do it just because I think it would give the bag a much newer look. And if I do that, the bag would not look 20 years old in my opinion. I think the style is fairly timeless. I do like the hardware on it. So I'm gonna see what happens when I reach out to Purse Rehab and see what they say. I will report back though. But that's my experience overall with purchasing a vintage Louis Vuitton bag from a rando Facebook group. I know this is kind of strange, but let me know what you think of the bag. Do you have the Cabas Piano? Also, have you done any repairs? Have you used Purse Rehab? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you have any tips for shopping pre-loved items, I would love to hear your opinion as well. Anyways, I'm Jen. Check out some of my other videos here about handbags, and I'll see you guys again in the next one.